Okay, Unit 4, Lecture 1B, I guess. I just left off with the Embargo Act. Before I get back to that, I mentioned Manifest Destiny. I want to draw your attention to the picture on the screen. It's really, really important. You'll see it on an SOL. You'll see it on tests. All right, familiarize yourself with it. The woman represents progress. She's trailing behind her telegraph wires. You can see the lighter side of the painting is our side moving through the darkness, bringing knowledge and our religion and everything west, because God wants us to go that way. Okay? Manifest destiny, this symbol there. All right, the Embargo Act, like I said, is a disaster for everybody, and the Federalist Party is going to attack it a lot. All right? They're going to go nuts on it. Now, Adams was our first Federalist president. He's going to be our last, and a lot of that's going to have to do with what's coming up in their actions later on. All right? As a matter of fact, the Federalists will bring up something called nullification, which we'll talk about later when we get to Jackson, and they start actively going to be talking about secession when we get to the War of 1812. Anyhow, we get the election of Madison in 1809. He's another Democratic Republican. He's a close friend of Jefferson. I think it was Jefferson's Secretary of State, and he immediately gets rid of the Embargo Act that was so unpopular. Right? He replaces it with the less severe Non-Intercourse Act, which only restricts trade with Britain and France, but they're our two biggest trading partners. So it's not much better, all right? Doesn't help, all right? And everybody's still unhappy, and the British keep impressing American sailors, all right, forcing them to serve on their warships, which leads to calls for war, all right? Politicians who call for war, we call war hawks, all right? Those that want peace are called doves, but war hawks call for war. And these are young Western congressmen like Henry Clay. Remember his name. He's come up a lot with the American system as the great compromiser, okay? He's from Kentucky. John Calhoun, who thought victory over the British would open up lots of land out west and allow for the conquest of Canada, okay? So in 1812, under pressure from these war hawks, Madison asks Congress for a declaration of war. And he gets it. The war is going to last from 1812 to 1815. The U.S. is going to be divided by regional differences over the war. Remember Washington's farewell address, beware of sectionalism. Well, it's happening. All right. The New England Federalists strongly opposed the war. All right. And went so far as to talk about secession. All right. Secession, secede, S-E-C-E-D-E, to leave the Union. All right. This will be at the Hartford Convention, Hartford, Connecticut. And their criticism and behavior at this time is going to contribute to their disappearance, all right, their implosion, disintegration of their party. We are also completely unprepared for this war. Madison and Jefferson had shrank the size of the military and hadn't spent a lot of money because they don't believe the government should. So we have about 8 ships in our Navy, maybe 12, 6 of them are rowboats, and the British have 800 ships. We're going to take on the largest Navy in the world with 12 ships. All right. Also, Americans oppose the draft. We do not want to be drafted. We prefer to volunteer in state militias. So it's really, really hard to get going, and the government's broke. The economic policies of Jefferson and Madison had substantially decreased tariff revenues, a huge part of our nation's income. So we go to war completely unprepared. And by the time it's over, neither side have really achieved any substantial gains or losses. All right, neither an inch gained, nor lost. But the British have burned D.C. down. The Star-Spangled Banner will be composed by Francis Scott Key as he's in Baltimore Harbor. All right, though we're going to claim victory. The war is going to really, really increase our feelings of nationalism. We believe we had won, all right? And the major battle, and one of the key elements to this, is the Battle of New Orleans, where Andrew Jackson becomes a national hero. He defeats a much larger British army. He does it with a ragtag group. We'll get into that in class, all right? So this leads to bigger claims on Oregon, more migration into Florida, all right? So we feel we have beat the British. I don't know how, but we're going to call it a victory, okay? It's going to increase claims to Oregon and migration to Florida. We'll go into more detail in class, especially the Battle of New Orleans, how important that was and why it happens after the peace treaty is signed. All right, so that is going to be Unit 4, Lecture 1B. I'll see you later.